Welcome back everybody to Forza Horizon 5, and today we are revisiting a series that I did on Forza Motorspor 7, and this is Extreme Power No Handling. So yeah, the basic gist of it is to fully upgrade a car in terms of horsepower and torque and leave everything else stock. The drivetrain, the tyres, the brakes, the suspension, the weight as close as possible, because obviously some new swapped engines in might be lighter than the standard ones, but the weight will be roughly the same. Yeah, the gearbox and everything else will stay the same unless it's hindering the top speed to a drastic amount. So yeah, and we're starting off with the 2020 Ford Super Duty F-450 DRW Platinum. So yeah, 1750 horsepower and 1475 pounds-feet of torque from a 7.5 litre twin turbocharged V8 engine. So that's about 1300 horsepower more than it had originally, and it still weighs 8,214 pounds. So even though this has all-wheel drive, it's really not going to help it that much, to be honest, especially given it's got really rather woefully small tyres up front, and as you can see, the handling and braking are still as bad as they were before, if not worse now because of the extra power. But it can do 0 to 60 in 3.873 seconds now, and 0 to 100 in 6.926 seconds, and go to a top speed of 199 miles an hour. But it's not going to be doing that on this series for two reasons. One, this circuit isn't long enough for such a top speed, and secondly, it's raining. We've got rain, just like we did in Forza Motorspor 7, just to add another layer of difficulty for these cars. It's wet, real wet. So yeah, even though it does have all-wheel drive, that's not really going to help it that much considering the extra power. And yeah, you've got those really rather small, tiny tyres up front. So yeah, 3 laps, and yeah, the quickest lap will be the one that goes up on the leaderboard. So yeah, now I do have traction control and ABS on for two reasons. One, a lot of cars that we're going to be taking out in this series will just be hitting the rev limiter a lot of the time if traction control is off, and secondly, because some older cars will have worse brakes than their modern counterparts, and modern counterparts generally have ABS nowadays. So yeah, just to make it a little bit fairer for some of the older cars, we're keeping the ABS on. So yeah, it's nothing that's going to affect or negatively impact or positively impact more newer cars, but older cars it will make it a little bit fairer. But that's the only two stuff that is staying on. And yeah, the understeer on this car is absolutely awful. It was bad enough in the stock version, but now that we've got way more power and torque, it's yeah, really struggling to not just stop, because obviously it weighs a lot, but also to turn around as well. So even though it's lightning fast in terms of straight line speed, as you can see, it's not really struggling to keep the power down in a straight line. So when it comes to the corners, yeah, I'm fully turned there and nothing's happening. Luckily, because this isn't Rivals, it's not going to throw up a flagged lap time or anything. So there's nothing we have to worry about, and we also don't have cosmetic damage on, so I don't expect to see any of that. So our first lap, 1 minute 29.957. Not particularly quick for a B-class car, which is what this is in that class now with this engine. Then again, this isn't exactly an ordinary B-class car, or it's sliding all over the place. So yeah, the reason this has such bad handling is because not only are those front tyres really rather small and thin, it's also got quad tyres at the rear. So it's got a hell of a lot of grip at the rear, but not much in the front, and it just slides on forwards as a result. So yeah, those front tyres would benefit from being bigger and wider, while still having the kind of turning rot that they do, which is the only thing that's really keeping us going around corners, to be honest, is the fact it has quite a lot of turning rock on it. Yeah, it does not enjoy this amount of power. Yeah, we also have a wider variety of vehicles to choose from on this game than we did in Forza Motorspor 7. We've got, older Renaults that we've never had before, and some muscle cars that we didn't have as well, that I'm looking forward to trying out. So yeah, quicker time there, 1 minute 24.952, about 5 seconds quicker. Is an improvement. Let's see if we can improve further on this third and final lap. We are so struggling to turn. Just does not like going around corners. at any kind of reasonable speed. Slipping and sliding everywhere. Obviously the rain isn't helping because that's going to reduce traction, but those front wheels don't have much traction in the first place, so it's having an effect, the rain, but quite frankly I wouldn't expect them to be any good anyway. Because they weren't even in the standard version of this car. I really don't get how stuff like this is legal in America. Oh dear. Final stretch, come on. Now this is unlikely to be the slowest car that we're going to use on this series, given it's pretty quick in a straight line, but yeah, the handling is woeful, as the title suggests. So yeah, not quicker that time round, so the second lap was our fastest lap time. Overall time of 4 minutes 23.380, but we are interested in the fastest lap of 1 minute 24.952. So yeah, I don't imagine that's going to be the slowest by any means, because like I said, it is really rather quite quick in a straight line, which is, you know, summarised by the fact that it's quite quick in terms of acceleration. But yeah, that handling was absolutely dreadful. No real steering at all when coming up to a corner. The understeer was dreadful, and yeah, it just wasn't able to get around corners at a reasonable rate of speed. So yeah, the extra power really did harm it there, and yeah, I can't imagine the standard car would be much slower than this. So yeah, pretty successful in terms of giving a car no handling, even with that extreme amount of power. So yeah, success on this episode. But yeah, let's I'm looking forward to seeing what other cars we can use on this series. Obviously we're not going to be going for, you know, hypercars or supercars or even really rather modern sports cars, but anything that's older or anything that's as large and as heavy and as useless as this is definitely going to be getting the treatment on this series. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed this episode, and yeah, I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye.